A friend of mine told me a story about a time he took a group of young people on a backpacking trip up in the mountains. And they'd gotten camp set up and settled in for the evening when a huge thunderstorm rushed on them. The leaders got all of the students and themselves into safety positions for lightning, and as they were crouched down and waiting out the storm, one of the leaders had a student recalled to their memory that had earlier expressed to them that they were very terrified of being caught in a thunderstorm. After the storm had passed, this leader went directly to that student and pulled them aside and had asked them kind of, how are you doing, or are you okay? How are things going? And he said, the student's response shocked him. He said, the whole time I was praying and singing, and the Lord was helping to recall scripture to my mind, and it was calming me and putting me at ease. And that moment really changed my perspective on what it meant to trust the Lord. This story may actually sound familiar to one that you've heard in Scripture. Here in Luke 8, we see the disciples out on a lake with Jesus in the boat, and Jesus had gone to sleep, and a storm had come onto the disciples in that moment, and they were terrified for their lives. Here in Luke 8, verse 24, it says, the disciples went and woke him, saying, Master, Master, we're going to drown. And Jesus got up and rebuked the wind and the raging waters, and the storm subsided, and all was calm. He said, where is your faith? He asked the disciples. And in fear and amazement, they asked one another, who is this? He commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him. Jesus knew this was going to happen. The perceived risk of the natural consequences of being in this boat and in the storm set up a perfect moment and time and place for the disciples to learn a valuable lesson about who Jesus was. I have a question for you. What role did the storm and being out on the lake play in the lesson Jesus was teaching? Where and when something happens is a valuable part and an integral part of any story. I mean, think about it like this. What if the young boy in the beginning had been at home when the storm came? Or what if the Israelites would have been forced to cross a road instead of the Jordan? Or if they'd have gotten to the Jordan in the time of year when it was completely dry? Would they have been able to experience the faithfulness of God in the same way had the timing and the setting been different? So Jesus knew and knows this reality and followed his Father's example to utilize the power of the terrain and the timing surrounding these circumstances to radically transform his people and confront them with deep truths about his character and his will for their lives. And we see this time and time and time in Scripture. I mean, think about it, like God takes the Israelites out into the desert, or Jesus takes his people onto a mountainside or into a grove of fig trees to teach them. This is not an accident. It is intentional, and we should definitely take notice. So you and I, we have an opportunity to leverage the power of the terrain and timing around those that we teach to let God impact them in that same way. We get to experience and leverage these same powerful moments of learning too. The special place of wilderness gives us a really powerful place for those that we serve to experience things like risk and wonder and awe that honestly are really difficult to recreate in any other way. And they're packed with potential for God to utilize them to truly transform our lives and those that we serve. I mean, after all, God has been doing it that way for a really, really long time. Go check out the questions in your workbook. You can explore this topic a little bit more, and join us in the next video where we explore how God uses trials in the wilderness to reorient us to himself.